Hi, my name is Per, and today I would like to talk a little bit about why people get crazy or become crazy or end up crazy or things seem crazy. It comes down to one thing, and it is the conflict that is between the interior and the exterior world, meaning that when things come from inside, they usually come from the soul, from a deeper understanding of things. But when things come from the outside, they come forced upon you, meaning that it doesn't work together with what you have on your inside, in the sense of that it doesn't come from nature itself, whereas everything that you have that come from inside comes from nature itself, from the understanding that we have ourselves of how the world works. And this is why some people, they sometimes make incredible jumps in their understanding of things, because they actually are listening to themselves, and it's born from within, so they see it. Whereas when it comes from outside, you have to understand that this exists, and then you have to investigate what does it mean that it exists, and what effects does it have, and blah blah blah. Whereas when it comes from inside, it comes very natural. You see the attachments it has to other things, and blah blah blah. That's just the way the world is made, or is. It's not. It's a thing that is connected to that we are free on some level, meaning that you're free to choose if you want to believe something or don't want to believe something. You're free to choose if you think it's right or not. You're not free to choose if it is like that or if it isn't like that. It is like that, and that's how things are. But we are free to cheat ourselves and to live by illusions that are not real, and live in ways that are death instead of life. For example, we are free to destroy everything if we want to. We are free to make everything flourish if we want to. You are free to do so, or to be able to do whatever it is you want to. Sure, yes, you cannot just make an airplane because you don't have all the materials, rah, rah, rah. So in that sense, you of course, and will always be restricted to some extent. I mean, if anyone have access to anything, they could do anything, of course. But since we don't live in that system, meaning that we have thought about this is how to do things, and so we do it like this because or else we can't get out of the Stone Age. Example, how the fuck do you explain to someone, go into that hole and take out these rocks, or pick out these rocks with a pickaxe, and then you lift them up there, and you then burn them, and you then use that to shape this, and you then do this, and then when we get to it, everyone has done their job, everyone will have, and keep doing their job, everyone will have a refrigerator. It's very difficult to go from hunting, gathering, to explaining that to someone, and then they say, yeah, okay, I'm going to work there 3 years in a hole in the wall so that everyone can have food for a longer time and it doesn't rot and whatever. And then trust everyone else to actually bring food enough for them. And it's also very difficult sometimes to say, okay, you're the hunter, so now instead of bringing home 1, 3, 5, now you have to bring home 100. All of a sudden, this guy is burdened more. I mean, it's like, so money comes in, and then slowly we grow and end up here, right? It's nature. It is what it is. Everything builds upon another idea, another thing, but it doesn't mean that the mind is necessary, is bound to live in in this, right, it worked to start to get us to here, but now it starts making things so crazy, so askew that, like, for example, we have to say something, right, that is concrete and everyone can use and see. Now we have a situation where there's something called coronavirus. So people think whether or not, which they don't, but whether or not they listen to science and do what the health institutions and so on say, and then follow that, or they choose to, which they have done, not that I want to go into it, but choose to do something that science doesn't say. We put in laws, we put in restriction, we think we do it like this, meaning that they have gone from on everything being based upon science, which is the way that you find life, to being based upon what do I feel, what do I think, blah, 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 which is how you really die. Then because this has happened, right, we've ended up in a situation where now people are fucking dying, right? Because there's no way they can go out and make any money, and they cannot afford living where they are. I mean, we all see it coming. The whole fucked up thing of it all is that politicians seem to be, I can only see out until the end of my nose. After that, I don't know what's going to happen. But where everyone else, because they have their money, they're getting their money as the last people who will get money in the world will always be the politicians, because everyone else has paid their taxes, right? So their money that comes directly from the taxes will always be there. And therein, it's very difficult for them to see beyond that because they're safe. They live within that safety limit. And just so we stop here for a moment and breathe and say, I'm not against anything. I'm not trying to say these are bad people. I'm not trying to say anything here upon any individual or any group of people or anything. The only thing I'm saying is this is nature. This is how things work. And if we don't understand it, we are really, really heading for trouble. And trouble that pandemics, world wars, whatever the fuck is, that's nothing compared to what we're heading toward. So in that sense, understand this, because if you don't understand that in reality, it's your responsibility to get up and do something similar to what I, for example, am doing in this video, which is informing people that this is what is gonna happen. This is what's coming. And if you don't help, if you don't stand up and say, look, I believe that this is how things are. It's this. It doesn't matter how you twist and turn it. If you take all your emotions, all your opinions, all your preferences, and throw them out of the window for a moment, then this is what is left. So let's try and make it so that things go a different way, so we can go towards living, all of us, rather than dying, right? And some people, they're caught in the middle, and they are caught in between the thought world that has all these insane effects in the world, and the real world, the living, the whatever it is that life itself is, which is unexplainable for us right now because we don't fucking have the vocabulary and so on. Anyways, when you are torn between those because your inner world is telling you this is reality and everyone else is saying, come this way, rather than go the way that your inner is telling you is the best way, then a conflict starts, right? And what then happens is people start making two images of the world, right? They start making, well, what is the real world? Is it the world that I'm feeling inside? And then is it the world that everyone else is portraying that is the real world? What is real? Because there's something here that is not the same. And since it's not the same, there must be something wrong. One of them must be wrong in a way, right? And the other one must be the correct one. And the correct one is the one that is a step that leads to life, not that leads to death or to stagnancy, right? But which one is what? It's very difficult to find, and so on and on. It will always be the one that comes from inside, if what comes from inside doesn't come from the mind, right? Because the mind is limited, or the self is limited, whereas the subconscious or the everything isn't limited, right? So because of this conflict between those two worlds, the majority of people, they end up saying, I am so tired of all these people outside standing there yelling at me, come this way, come this way. I'm just going to give up that world perception view that comes from inside, and I'm just going to follow all of this. And it ends up with being that they are fairly good at navigating it at that end. And for example, a person like me that doesn't really like that and don't have any shit problem with being robbed of energy or being perceived as crazy or whatever the fuck it might be, that all the effects have of trying to keep those two worlds in line, or making sure that the inner line, the one that actually makes steps in the ladder to life, is it's very difficult, right? I mean, I don't know how many times in my life I have thought I am fucking crazy, or it seems like everyone else is like, well, what's going on? Am I crazy? And if you're not fast enough in those moments, you don't perceive it. And all of a sudden you just tilt over. And that's when you end up becoming crazy. And that can become in many, many, many different forms. It can come in like, and you're just melted, right? You incoherent, all kind of shit. But it can also come in that form that people, they are denying to let go of any of them. So therefore they create multiple personalities, because they need a person that lives in this reality and they need a person that lives in this reality, right? And all of a sudden, maybe these people realize, oh, there are more realities, because those that are outside doesn't all live in the same one reality. So then they start building more worlds. And if they already said there has to be a person in each, we are not talking consciously choices or conscious choices. No one ever said anything about I consciously choose this. This is just mechanisms that automatically happen if you refuse to do this, or you refuse to do this as the only option. Then these forks happen, and sometimes these forks go that way or that way, and it's just it's not luck, and it's not whatever. Or it is like this. Study it and you can avoid getting there. Just like study it and you don't have to go into a train and it brings you to the moon or whatever. Yes, not yet, but it'll come. So, yeah. So this is why people are crazy. People appear crazy. Why it seems like people are crazy. Why all these things, but reality is it's because there is that, well, small or big conflict on the inside and the outside worlds touching, right? Because there are sometimes like, what is best to do this to, for example, what is best to take care of everyone or to take care of myself? And in reality, we all know that it would be, of course, best to take care of everyone, because that means that everyone else is taking care of me. And now I'm not just me trying to take care of me and thereby getting fucked by others because they're also just trying to take care of themselves, right? Okay, I know it sounds socialistic, communistic, whatever the fuck you might want to think, utopia, whatever, it doesn't matter. But think about it for a moment. I'm not trying to persuade anyone to do any of all the stuff I'm talking about. I'm just saying this is nature. Let's look at nature. Let's see what is the life pattern in this place, rather than try and kill each other off because we're cheating the fuck out of each other or whatever, right? And creating crazy people because of all these conflicts that are between the real life way of living life or the thought way of living life that doesn't actually bring anything else than stagnancy and death to, well, the majority of things, right? So there you have it. That is really the reason why anyone is crazy. And if you would like an advice, my advice is trust in yourself. Look inside yourself. Keep your puzzle well made. Don't, if whatever someone else is saying doesn't fit into your puzzle, say, okay, I will keep that piece of the puzzle somewhere, but I cannot yet connect it. So therefore, I'm not connecting it. I only put pure light puzzle pieces in my puzzle. So until that has been dusted off properly and I can see where it fits, I'm not going to put it in. And if you then eventually figure out, oh, that's actually the main puzzle of or main piece of the whole puzzle, whatever, great. And you have a shiny piece of puzzle and so on, and ways and ease to see, blah, blah, blah. But if that piece of puzzle shows that it belongs to the fake world, meaning the world that doesn't come from light, that doesn't come from living, but comes from death, then you of course throw that piece away. And that's okay, because why the fuck would I have that piece in terms of living it, right? You never throw it fully away, because you will always have that piece in your puzzle saying, this is a piece of the false reality. And this is one of the things that I use to measure if I am in a false reality or in a real reality, not a thought, not a, like in my head, I can cut my head off, put it under my arm, walk around, and that's okay. But you can do that out here. But not all things are that easily distinguished between if you can and cannot do it, and does it have good or bad effects actually doing it, right? Like, I don't know, yell at people all the time or whatever, which of course just shuts off their ears and make them think you're crazy, and then they avoid you and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it isn't really that difficult. What is difficult is because we perceive things from a false world, from a bad, put together world that doesn't make any and can never make any sense. And so that those things are the outcome of that, right? It's like some people are saying there's something called fallacies, and people are saying, there's a saying about it, something along the lines of, understand how the world really works, because we don't need ghosts just from understandings. You have more than plenty ghosts that you cannot fight, right? Because they're ghosts. So stop thinking in that way, and you remove the ghost, and all of a sudden there's nothing to be scared of. There is no problem, because it was just a ghost, right? It wasn't a physical, real body in that sense. Now, this has nothing to do with dead people's spirits and all that. It's just it was just a way of expressing things, putting it into a picture that seemed understandable. Unless you start looking at that other side, then things get confused maybe, or confusing. Anyways, it was really nice getting all that out in basically 20 minutes, it looks. I'm not sure if it's perceivable, but there it is. Check it over again if you think it's too confusing, or ask some questions. If I see any questions, I will answer them for sure. Anyways, enjoy your life no matter what, because soon it'll change to something else on some level. And see you later, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. Bye.